The gravel tore into my knees as I tried to push myself upright, tiny stones grinding into my skin with every movement. Before I could fully stand, my father's hand clamped tightly around my wrist, yanking me backward with brutal force. The sunlight burned overhead, harsh and relentless, but a chilling cold spread through my veins as I heard my sister Whitney laughing behind her phone camera. "Don't you ever block your sister's car again," he growled, dragging me across the driveway as if I were nothing more than discarded trash. I hadn't even been blocking her. I had stepped outside for barely a minute to grab my biochemistry textbook from the porch when she suddenly decided she needed to leave immediately. "Dad, she's in the way again," Whitney had whined. That was all it took. "She wants to live here for free and take up space," my mother added from the porch, arms folded, calmly sipping her iced tea like she was watching some mildly entertaining show. "That trash can's finally got some use." With one final violent shove, my father threw me straight into the bin. The lid snapped open, then slammed shut above me with a hollow, echoing bang. The stench hit instantly, rotting food, damp paper, sour air wrapping around me as I struggled awkwardly inside, my body twisted painfully against the plastic walls. "Finally in a place that suits you, huh?" Whitney's voice filtered through, followed by her laughter. "My name is Nora. I'm 25 years old, a biochemistry graduate. And this is the story of how I went from being treated like family trash to becoming the architect of their downfall." I had only been staying at my parents' house for a few weeks, trying to save enough money for an apartment after graduation. Every application I sent for entry-level research jobs led nowhere. My bank balance had dropped to $93, and I had nowhere else to go. But every single day in that house felt like punishment just for existing. My father hadn't always been like this. When I was younger, he wasn't warm, but he was tolerable. Everything changed when Whitney turned 15. Suddenly, she became the center of everything. Private dance academies, trips to France, designer clothes. When I needed new shoes for a lab internship, they said, "Your sister needs that money for a summer intensive." Neglect slowly turned into resentment. Resentment turned into cruelty. After the trash incident, I locked myself inside the basement room they had reluctantly given me. A single flickering bulb buzzed above, casting sharp shadows across the cold concrete walls. I sat on the edge of the bed, silent, while something inside me tightened like a spring pushed beyond its limit. I didn't go upstairs for dinner. Around 9 p.m., my mother knocked on the door, not gently. "Are you going to sit down here and sulk," she said coldly, "or clean up the mess you left all over the driveway?" I opened the door. She looked me over without emotion, swirling the ice in her glass. "You know what you are," she said, tapping her nail against the glass. "A leech. With a useless degree. Whitney is building something real. You just stink up this house." She walked away before I could respond, her footsteps fading above me. The next morning, the house was empty. A note sat on the refrigerator. "Road trip with Whitney. Gone for a week. Don't mess up the house." I could have used that week to leave. But where would I go? I called my only friend in town, Rachel. She didn't answer. The last time she came over, my mother humiliated her for bringing poor girl energy onto our porch. I couldn't blame her for staying away. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Whitney. A photo of my suitcase sitting on a curb. "Oops. Took a little detour. Hope you like your new view." My heart dropped. I ran outside, but it was already gone. Then my phone rang. "My father." "We dropped your stuff off," he said flatly. 91st Street Shelter in Ashland. "Time you learned how the real world works. Let's see how long you last." The call ended. I stood there barefoot on the porch, my chest tightening like it might collapse entirely. Ashland was 300 miles away. They had left me with nothing. No clothes. No ID. No keys. They had taken everything. My laptop, my research notes, even my worn-out backpack. The only thing I still had was my phone, because I had started hiding it on me while I slept. All I could hear was my mother's voice echoing, "You stink up our space." Something inside me shifted. Not rage. Something colder. Something sharper. Purpose. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stood up, turned, and walked to my neighbor's house. Mrs. Lillian opened the door, her expression instantly changing when she saw me. "Sweetheart, what happened?" This time, I didn't hide anything. I told her everything. She listened quietly, her eyes hardening with every word. "Well," she said finally, "it's about time someone showed them what survival really looks like." She handed me $40 and a business card. "My nephew Felix. He runs a restoration shop. Call him. He owes me." I stared at the card in my hand. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like trash. I felt like something had begun. The next morning, she drove me to the bus station and paid for my ticket. Before I left, she took a photo of me. "Just in case," she said. I didn't understand then, but I would later. The first weeks at Felix's shop were brutal. I swept floors until my back burned, sanded wood until my fingers split, lifted furniture heavier than my own body. But Felix never yelled, never insulted me. He watched, waited, and when I finally handed him a restored bench I had worked on for 2 straight days, he nodded. "You've got grit," he said quietly. "That matters more than talent." I had never heard words like that before. I used my small pay to buy a cheap phone and second-hand clothes. I slept on a cot in the back, worked, learned, survived. By the 3rd month, Felix trusted me with a client, a widow who wanted her late husband's desk restored. When she saw it, tears filled her eyes. "I haven't seen it like this since our wedding," she whispered. She paid me more than I had earned in 2 months. I stood outside, holding the envelope, breathing in the cold air. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was building. And my family, they never called. Not once. Until one day, a familiar name appeared in my inbox. My mother. She didn't know it was me. Subject line: custom dining table, urgent. I smiled. Because this time, centerpiece. She wanted a designer with grit, someone with a raw, authentic vision. I accepted the project, and I made sure the quote was exactly double my usual rate. They didn't hesitate, not even for a second. On the day of delivery, I didn't go myself. I hired a driver instead, but I included something far more important. A letter, folded neatly beneath the glass centerpiece. A letter meant only for them. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It was truth. "You dragged me across the driveway like I was nothing, so I turned that same driveway into my starting line. This table is the last piece of me you'll ever be able to afford." Rachel Hart. The table itself was my finest work. A masterpiece. But the real message was hidden, burned carefully into the underside. Invisible at first glance. Permanent if you looked close enough. Dead weight floats when it's made of stone. Later, Felix told me what happened. Whitney nearly fainted when she read the note. My mother locked herself in her room during the gala and never came out. My father. He stormed out in front of 30 guests, shouting about betrayal and ungrateful children. It was perfect. But I wasn't finished. 3 years after I left, Felix walked into the workshop holding a newspaper, his expression unreadable. "Your old neighborhood made the listings," he said. I wiped my hands and took it from him. Foreclosures. There it was. 27, Birchwood Drive. Mrs. Lillian confirmed it that same evening. She still lived nearby, still watched everything. My father had lost his job at the investment firm 6 months earlier. After that, everything collapsed. Nearly 4 years after the day they threw me away, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a photo. My childhood home. A for sale sign planted in the yard. Foreclosure pending. I stared at the image for a long time. The same chipped shutters. The same porch I used to scrub every summer while my father criticized from a distance. That house had been their temple. The place where they sacrificed me to protect their illusion. And now, they were losing it. I didn't smile. I didn't laugh. But something inside me settled. A quiet sense of completion. A week later, Felix asked the question he already knew the answer to. You're going to help them, aren't you? I kept sanding the walnut surface in front of me. No, I said calmly. I'm going to give them something else. The auction came quickly. By then, my business had grown beyond anything I once imagined. Clients on wait lists, features in magazines, steady demand. I had the money, but I didn't go. Instead, I sent someone else. A young couple. Months earlier, I had restored their storm-damaged furniture for free, when no one else would even try. They were kind, struggling, new parents. They deserved a beginning. When the gavel fell, they won. The house was no longer my family's. But that wasn't the revenge. That was just the shift. 2 weeks later, I sent out invitations. Embossed. Clean. Intentional. Open house. A new beginning. 27, Birchwood Drive. Mrs. Lillian had given me their new address. A small apartment on the edge of town. That's where I delivered theirs. On the day of the event, I stood across the street as they arrived. Maybe they expected forgiveness. Maybe reconciliation. Maybe even a second chance. Instead, they saw a wooden sign on the lawn. This home was rebuilt with grace, not guilt. The young couple greeted them warmly, their baby in their arms. You must be here for Rachel, the woman said gently. She gave us everything. My father's face drained of color. My mother blinked rapidly, like she couldn't process what she was seeing. Whitney looked lost, confused. I stepped forward. No makeup, no designer labels, just work clothes, dust-stained gloves, a clipboard in my hand. They froze. Why? My father finally demanded. You gave them the house? I met his gaze. After everything, I said quietly, I gave it to people who would never hurt their child. People who would never scream from the stairs, never drag someone across gravel, just to prove power. Whitney stepped closer. You think this makes you better? No, I said. It makes me free. She scoffed. You could have helped us. You should have. You were our daughter. I held her gaze. You threw your daughter in a trash can. A pause. You don't get to be surprised when she learns how to recycle. Silence. They turned and left. But before they did, I handed them one final thing. A small wooden box. Simple. Polished. Precise. Inside, a crushed soda can. A photograph of me in the trash. Blood on my knees. The one Mrs. Lillian took that morning. And a note. You taught me what worthlessness looks like. So I gave it back. I never saw them again. 6 months later, they moved to Arizona, forced to rely on extended family. Their relationship fractured beyond repair. Whitney eventually cut ties with them too. I only knew because Mrs. Lillian kept me informed. until she passed peacefully last year at 89. About a year after everything ended, Whitney tried one last time. A fake name, a new email, a request for a custom piece. But I recognized her instantly. The way she wrote, the rhythm of her words. I declined, blocked the address, and closed that chapter for good. Now, I build for people who understand value, not just price. I use my name, my hands, my story, not for revenge anymore, but because I survived what they tried to destroy. I turned broken wood into something beautiful, and myself into something unbreakable. Before you go, here's something extra. If you love learning, growing, evolving, try audiobooks. I've partnered with Audible. Your first month is completely free. Access to over 500,000 titles. No cost. All the details are in the description. Don't miss it.
Thank you so much, my all friend.